Developing ITIL requires multiple streams of activity, which can be run together. Each ITIL service management program or project has at least 4 different work streams, as you can see here. We have the process area, we have the tools, we have people, and we have governance. Governance we discussed in part 1. That is important to have in place up front so that everyone can actually be adhering to the standards that you are declaring. So as we go through the process areas, first of all you do the assessment in terms of where are we now and where do we want to be. How weak are our detailed designs? As I also mentioned in part 1, you can buy detailed designs from very good service management organisations that will save you a lot of time and energy. Giving you an example, a change management detailed design from the PremaGroup, our company, will cost you £1,000. This will have all of the areas that you need in which to develop a solid, robust change management process within a week. Now without that, it'll probably take you somewhere between 3 and 6 months. So once you have these high-level designs, you can develop from these high-level designs what I call work instructions. And you can use the work instructions in 2 ways. Yes, they can be procedural steps, but another way of using work instructions is to actually have areas of weakness in the design, i.e. parts that are not using best practice. You can actually put into a continual service improvement program. You've identified where the processes are weak, so in that case they should be fed into the continual service improvement program. So once you've done the designs and once you've done the work instructions, you're well on your way. You then undergo the process implementation for all of the teams that will be using that process. Change analysts, for example, change coordinators, if you have them, if you're lucky to have them. Some sites will only have 1 or 2 people per process. And again, in other sites you will have a process owner, for example, looking after not just change but other processes as well. The tool part, this is again a really, really important area, particularly if you're working with multiple suppliers. You need to identify which particular event monitoring tool, for example, will be interfacing with other suppliers or indeed your enterprise toolset. There are some very, very good enterprise toolsets on the market, probably over 600 in fact. But again, if you're using data from Gartner or Forrester, you'll note that there are some excellent tools coming onto market right now that are perceived to be way ahead in terms of thinking, and also claim, to be using ITIL extremely well. Some of them do. I mean, there are some very, very good products out there that you will have heard of. Like SM7, for example, from HP, Cherwell from Cherwell Software, ServiceNow. These are very, very good tools that actually use ITIL processes to help you automate, vital steps of these processes. So once you've gone through the painful, area of selecting the tools, or you may be getting the suppliers to actually use their tool collectively across the boundaries, you then deploy and scale accordingly. But all the hard work you've been doing in the process stream will actually come into effect into the tooling area. You'll probably have identified the major fields that need to go into that particular tool, and if you've been progressing really well with your service catalogue, this vital information can be actually imported into the tool. On the people side, this again is extremely important in that the project teams, not necessarily the people that are going to be using the processes, but outside teams that are going to be actually effective to input into the process. This is where you will need OLAs with people like support groups, etc. And these OLAs will be identifying how long these project support teams have to adhere to when they're looking at a particular problem that may have manifested. So other people outside of the processes need to be educated, and they need to be communicated with in terms of how these processes are going to work. ITIL documents themselves are very good at identifying all the tasks associated and races that you need to adhere to within the process areas. So once you've developed all these detailed role definitions, authority matrices, you can then undergo what type of training that you require. Again, there are some excellent companies out there doing some very good ITIL training, which again is a career path, and this is a very good thing about ITIL, in that as it's such a common language, these are transferable skills, and you will find that the suppliers will be not doing anything different than you. A huge part of this particular project is mentoring the roles, hold some workshops, go through with all of the senior people, like the heads of technology, for example, just a title, a CIO, a CTO. Make sure they understand the power of these processes. Go back to that diagram I showed you where the processes are all connected. Show them that and prove to them how powerful the ITIL will be once these are all in place. On the governance side, you will have declared your standards. You will have an ITIL library site which will be under change control and only allowed to change via the process owners and as part of the continual service improvement forum. The library site is intended to be an online library site, so that all can access these process documents. Particularly useful for newcomers to the organisation. You can say, well, your role within this is an incident analyst, and I'd like you to look at the detailed design for incident management, and you will see which tasks you will have to adhere to. Of course, if they've got an ITIL qualification, then they're well on their way to understanding that anyway. Developing the continual service improvement process improvement forum is quite a long task to implement. However, the power of having process owners running a continual service improvement forum or process is invaluable. The feeds will be going up to senior executives to tell them which areas are being improved, which have been identified, and that itself is keeping everyone communicated. And then of course you've got your sign-off of your production processes, and then of course you've got a continual awareness campaign. You could start the awareness campaign right at the very beginning, telling people why you're doing ITIL and how you're going to be addressing it and how this could impact and benefit them. I would highly recommend that. So for each process, some process will be implemented to a degree. Some may be new, which means we need to be patient and do it right. The natural process is to ensure we have all these elements covered for process, people, and technology. So for each process, you have to create the relationships for all of the interfaces and dependencies, prioritize the improvements we'll be undertaking, and establish and implement the associated process, critical success factors, and key performance indicators. Be involved with the tool project for the process requirements, ensuring all the fields and assignments are understood. Agree the training plans for each process owner. On the people side, this is where you will find the process mentoring. Process improvement workshops will help people understand their process activities. The new governance structure and process improvement forum will gain momentum for all process owners to have a platform and method of discussing improvement with these suppliers. Communication to the wider IS group can be scheduled so formal relationship building can start to be understood. Technical teams need to input to this improvement forum and support the whole ITIL development program. Start to get other people involved with the interfaces and the meetings and the frequency for the inputs and outputs of each process. Establish all the required vital business functions, particularly with the business personnel. Understand how IT service continuity and business continuity will actually interface and operate. On the technology side, there is a plethora of technology that we need to be involved with. I mean, there are capacity tools, there are service enterprise management tools, there are reporting tools. You know, there is a plethora of tools that can actually help you with your development program. Ensure the KPIs are producing the required measurements using the enterprise tools. Major work at this stage should continue to ensure service level management is developing a full service understanding and the online service catalogue. Do you understand your services? Get to grips with exactly what services you have and make sure that the service catalogue is a fair representation of that. Feed that into your enterprise tooling. The catalogue documents all the service details, all the service components, all the service level agreements, critical systems, and the availability metrics. All of these are utilised by each of the processors by the tooling. This will enable much more accurate analysis of service targets, triggers for escalation, and provide a more stable view for support teams to provide an optimum level of service to end users. So don't forget, ITIL is a journey. Executives should understand this. While some processes will be implemented faster, service level management, availability, IT service continuity and capacity management, these will take much further and longer to create the relevant service maps to enable process efficiency and build the relationships that are vital for the regular performance monitoring with the suppliers. So be patient and please make sure that the ITIL development program is given executive support throughout. That concludes part 2, i.e. developing ITIL in a intelligent customer framework. Please log into part 3 of the presentation now to understand what types of measurements we can do and the benefits of using ITIL in a governance structure. Thank you.